When you annoy your enemy, like properly annoy, you have to expect a revenge. In this video I'm gonna show you what to expect when you fuck with your enemy too much. We all know Hornet, right? We also know that when we see Hornet's nest, we shouldn't really play with it. And certainly not in the way to make them absolutely furious. If we do, however, take that challenge on, we should at least be aware of the consequences. Like this gentleman here. This video is an old footage of map 1164 when I was taking all the remaining bases of Gogo. Gogo, unfortunately, he went inactive. Well, we don't know actually what's happened with it, and therefore I was taking all the bases from him. Now, as you can see on this old footage here, I've got a bunch of bombers and I've got a bunch of GPFs, and that was the way I was taking all those bases. Now, while I was doing that, we had a few bases of Mustangs on that map, and from that time I've actually made quite a few videos, so those who were following me from sort of beginning, they would recognize that map and they will remember what sort of videos was made on that map. Now, this is an old footage, and also Mustang's Revenge I will be showing you in this video. It's all based on the old footage. So without further ado, this is the story. As you can see in here, I've got a bunch of bombers and a bunch of GPFs. Now, there is not much protection in here, but at the same time, on that map, there was not really an enemy, so I wasn't really worried. Although I was aware of Mustangs. Now, Mustangs at that stage, they only had few bases, if that. So they weren't really my biggest concern. What I wanted to focus on is to basically take as many bases of Gogos as possible. Now, unfortunately, well, unfortunately for me or unfortunately for Mustangs, I've noticed where Jews was moving loads of troops and they were preparing to take one of the base on the north side, and the temptation was just too much. Now, what I forgot, and this is why it is important for all of you when you see the situation like that, always look at your main goal, where in my case my main goal was to actually take as many Gogos bases as possible. I took it for granted, and that was my mistake, because when I noticed that the Jews and Mustangs gathering at the north side of the map, what I really should do is to leave them alone, perhaps just to defend the base slightly, right? Because it's a different story where you've got the enemy gathering troops ready for a battle, and they start attacking the base, and then you will defend the base, right? That will not really annoy them. I mean, they will be angry, but that will not really annoy them, because that will be a kind of a fair battle, if you like. Now, it's a different story if you prevent that attack, right? You don't really give them opportunity to actually attack, and that what is very annoying. Now, the problem is, when I sent a bunch of helis to destroy as many troops as possible, and that was mainly Juice's troops, I should really thought about a bunch of GPFs and bombers which I'm using to take all the Google's bases. Now, the GPFs and the bombers, they are absolutely useless when it comes to defense. I mean, the bombers have a larger armor, but the firepower is nothing, even with a large group. And the GPFs, now this is just a war meat, literally. There's almost no armor on GPFs. Obviously, they can't shoot to the air unit, and even on the ground unit, they are very weak against troops. So I was like seal on the ice, waiting for killer whale to arrive. And the funny thing was, I was not expecting killer whale to come. As you look at this footage, you can see we were like a butcher, slaughtering enemy's troops like a sheep for nice, tasty, juicy kebab. And I can tell you one thing, I have not seen Juice's face at that time, but I can guarantee you, he was absolutely furious. And do you know how I know this? 'Cause I would be. I would definitely had to change at least my keyboard and the mouse. Probably the monitor I would leave. Maybe I could calm myself up to that point at least. But I can tell you, I would be absolutely furious. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? After losing so much shit. Quick clarification, at the time of recording of that footage, we did not have any contact with Mustangs. Obviously now we are best friends, but at the time we weren't. Okay, and now the payback. Now, while I was having fun up north, Juice at that point, probably by now, was already spying my GPFs and bombers, and he knew exactly how to get a revenge. Because if you have a bunch of bombers and GPFs, there is absolutely no way you will be able to defend that. Even if you have a gold and you can fast produce the jets and stuff, by the time you do all of that, you will at least lose most of your GPFs, which we all know they are quite expensive and time consuming to make. And that what he was working on while I was having fun up north. Now, right about now, they started attacking my GPFs. And I don't have that footage, unfortunately, and the reason for that is I was simply too busy destroying the troops up north. Can you believe that? I did not actually see what was going on the west end of that map, where I had the bombers and GPFs. I did not even notice that because I was so focused on having fun up north. Now, by the time I realized what's going on, I've already lost some of the GPFs. It was mainly Jews and King who came from the west to attack my GPFs and the bombers. And the problem was that by the time I realized this, and obviously I want to prevent that, there was nothing I could do to prevent myself from losing GPFs. Bombers, they weren't too bad, because the Jews just sent a set of XR1s, and King brought few IL-2 planes, which are designed to destroy ground troops. This is important. That's why when those planes go over your GPFs, the GPFs, which have an armor of 37, there is no way you're gonna save them. Absolutely no way. And now, in this video, we are going to select our first contestant. All you need to do is to be first in the comment section answering this question. On which map? Somewhere in this video there is a second part of that question. Now, I'm going to cut this video short, but what I have to tell you, that Jews and King were kept coming. This is just incredible. They were kept coming until all of my GPFs were gone. So they brought only a few groups, because they don't have as many bases on that map, so they couldn't really, bring up a proper amount. So they brought a few groups, attack, they got destroyed, and they brought another one, and it was like that for hour, 2 hours, until they destroyed all of my GPS. So you can see, that just tells you how much they must have been annoyed by me destroying basically their attack. So they just kept coming, just to prove the point that we are pissed off and you will pay for this. Nevertheless, if you read our chat box, I was actually quite amused about this situation, because you can only imagine, for the last few days, or perhaps even longer, like a week or two maybe even, I was just simply moving my bunch of GPFs and bombers, taking those ghost bases. And you know how long does it take to take a fully armed base, right? And I was taking one after one, and it was actually so boring. So this situation which I had there, which I experienced at that time, it was actually very, very amusing. It was annoying, it pissed some people off, definitely, but I think as the game, it was absolutely brilliant. That's what I loved about this game. Sometimes you can see that it's so boring that you just want to quit, and all of a sudden something can turn 180 degrees and you've got a massive battle, great fun, and wasting shed lot of gold, but it was worth it. Mustangs and Jews in particular, which used to be called Jews Steve, which in my video I pronounced that Deutsche Steve. I had no clue how to really pronounce that until recently. I've been enlightened. But anyway, this is where my YouTube journey started. In particular, destroying Deutsches bombers with my jets. That was one of the most amusing battle I've ever had, and that was this beginning of great stories and crazy videos I've done so far. So, Mustangs, and juice, thank you for everything. The biggest thank you, however, I'd like to say to all old schools heroes such as Scott, Howie, Q, Panzer Rush, Sasquatch, Nitram, Babip, Sean, Cannibal, Timus, Sandra, Mr. Stratich, Vien, Dr. Keel, Trimith, and all others in Old School Alliance. Please excuse my pronunciation, it's shit, but I'm still learning English, so it'll get better. Anyway, thank you very much everyone for watching and for lasting for that long. And you got to subscribe if you haven't already. So yeah, so remember, do subscribe. And yes, I will see you in the next video, I guess. Thank you, and see you in the next one! And now, the second part of my question. I have made my first video. All you need to do is to put that number in the comment section below that video. And if you're first, you will be number 1 participant in our new challenge. Good luck you. Not everyone continued to watch the video after the outro.